This is Speedball Mike Bailey. You are listening to a hashtag 5-star podcast, Rock Bottom Radio.
Brass monkey, that funky monkey. Brass monkey, junkie, that funky monkey.
He's one of the hottest guys in wrestling at the moment, and if you haven't seen him, you need to check him out. He had an absolutely amazing 2015 that made fans around the world starting to talk about him so much. I'm sitting here with Mr. Speedball Mike Bailey. Mike, how you doing?
Hi, I'm very good, and thank you for all of that, by the way.
Thank you very much. We're sitting here right now at WXW, the World Tag Team League, and you got announced off the back of Drew Galloway's injury, and social media went a bit crazy about it because Speedball was coming to WXW, and so you're right around there in the title picture as well.
Yeah, which is crazy because at the last shows I did with WXW were 16 karat, and that weekend I went 0-5. I lost every match I had, including the 2 matches I did at the dojo shows on the Fridays, and then all of my karat matches. Actually, sorry, 0-6. No,
oh wow, it's getting worse.
Yeah, there was the Ambition Shoot style tournament,
right?
And I lost to Axel Dieter in the first round of that, and then I became the #1 contender on Friday when I beat Bad Bones.
That is, Bad Bones John Klinger's a good friend of the show. He came onto our show back in March in the studio with us, and we done this thing where we were going to give each other some chops, and I took one, and we put it live out on air, and wow. It was crazy. But
tell me how that one chop felt.
I had a big bruise on my chest for 5 days.
Yeah, I'm looking about the same right now.
You had a war with him on Friday.
Yeah, we traded chops. I don't care, and I just kicked him. I probably took like 10 to 15 in the whole match. It's hard to pinpoint an exact number, but somewhere in that ballpark.
Right, so I want to go back a few years, okay,
yes.
if we can. Where did it all start for you, and when did you get into wrestling?
I started officially training when I was 15, which is a bit more than 10 years ago right now. And I started in Quebec, which is very weird because it's a different language and it's kind of isolated from the rest of like America, like in terms of cities. I mean, so are many other places in Canada. So if you want to break out, just even to go to the next province, which is Ontario, and wrestle there, like there's only a few guys in Quebec that do that for some reason. So it's kind of harder to break out, which is a good thing because when I finally did start wrestling in the U.S. for CCW and beyond and ISW, then I already had enough experience to, not still be in the learning phase, but be in the actually, I have stuff to show up phase of my career.
Yeah, quite. And obviously Canada's got such a proud wrestling heritage.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to keep going with? Is that like something you pay attention to and you're aware of?
Yes, there's so much good in Canada right now, and there's so many great people. I don't know if you can hear me over Zack Sabre right now.
No, you're fine.
Okay. There's still so many great wrestlers that are doing like mostly Canada, and they're still putting awesome shows. Like there's so many great guys in Smash and C4 and IWS and Battle War in Montreal that should be out there, that should be doing CZW and PWG, and just kind of hard.
We're going to talk about C4 a little bit more in a minute, but right now I want to talk about, like, obviously you just say about starting with wrestling and being in Canada and stuff like that, but is it something you always wanted to do? Because you've got obviously this martial artist background as well.
Yes. It's funny, like, you're a kid, like I was 7, and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a pro wrestler, and of course it's not viable, nothing's going to happen. And even like, I didn't think it was going to happen until it did. I mean, as an actual career and making it work, for people from Quebec, it has a very low chance of happening. But yeah, so I started martial arts, probably originally in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great for wrestling. Which, of course, it was, but...
Oh, you went in with the mindset that it'd be good for wrestling?
Yeah, kind of.
Wow.
Because as a young child, as I was when I started martial arts, I was very, very, like, focused on wrestling and the biggest, biggest mark out there. But and then martial arts kind of took over, and obviously there's not that much you can do with wrestling when you're 15. So by then, I was competing very heavily in Taekwondo and fighting in the national championships. And
now you're a fourth
fourth degree black belt. I've stopped competing a little while ago when it wasn't worth it anymore to like back out of a wrestling show to do a tournament, because there's no pro outlet for Taekwondo. It's not like boxing where the top Taekwondo people in the world make millions of dollars. No one makes any money.
Yeah, of course.
Even the people in the like Olympics, unless their countries are very nice, which some are, like probably China, I guess. At least house them in compounds of some sort. But there's very little money to be made, and with wrestling, obviously there is. So the choice became obvious at a point.
Has it helped you with fans though, being a legitimate martial artist and being a, you know, quote unquote real fighter? Now it seems in wrestling we see people like Brock Lesnar and people coming in and out of wrestling with legitimate fighting experience.
Yeah,
has that helped you with fans?
It's helped me with life in general, like just learning, ethics and discipline and how to train, and like the biggest thing you get out of martial arts or any sport basically or anything is how to use your body and learning how to learn. You know what I mean? If you look at I remember it hit me when I was on an Evolve show sometime last year, and I was like, wow, everyone that's on the card today has some kind of athletic background. Like no one's just I'll take up pro wrestling and then bodybuilding sort of. No, they're all wrestlers or martial artists or something else that where they learn how to use their body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so you've just said about Evolve. You're making a bit of a statement in Evolve as well as PWG as well.
Yes.
And I think that's where obviously a large audience, I'd say your fans really caught on to you and they're like, wow, this guy's got something good here. But then obviously we saw back a few months ago something happened with the US.
Yeah.
And we're hearing rumours, or it's been reported that you're not going to be working in the US for the next 5 years. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Yeah, for legal reasons, I'm glad you asked me, because I want people to ask me, because I feel it's disappointing every time I do like any kind of interview and it's just not addressed. But I'd rather people ask me so I can outright say that I can't talk about it for legal reasons. And I'm trying to look at my options and figure things out, but I can't get into detail about really anything right now.
That's cool. All right. Well, rather than address that, let's. I like to look at if there's a negative, there's got to be a positive.
Right.
Try and take positive out of it. So, as it stands right now, you're not going to be working in the US for any amount of time. It could be 5 years, could be 3.
Exactly.
Who knows? But there's amazing wrestling scenes out there.
Yes.
I've seen you quite a few times now for Revolution Pro Wrestling,
right?
And you're doing your thing there. So what an amazing scene we have in Europe for wrestling. You were at WXW, fantastic tournament. But you also worked in Japan and Mexico and stuff like that, and those doors are still open for you. Mm-hmm. So is that the way you're looking at it right now? Okay, right now you can't be in the US, but...
Yes, completely. When I was asked how that affected my career, my answer just made it different. In that, I probably wouldn't be traveling as much as I am right now, and I'm really looking to expand. That's what I want to do. I'm going to be working on a regular basis for DDT in Japan, and that's exactly what I wanted. You know what I mean? Just a regular place to work over there, because business is so great, and also Europe, England is just exploding, and Germany with WXW is doing awesome. And right now I'm really looking to expand all over the world, and there's more and more places. I'm actively looking for bookings in France. So I really want to go just because of my French-Canadian heritage, and just the language stuff would seem like it's fun. There's I've contacted a few promoters in Italy, and I'm trying to make things happen there. So that's really what I want to do right now. I can't go to the US right now, but the way the wrestling world is, I can completely have a career, a different career, but still just as great by working everywhere else in the world.
What's been your perception of the British wrestlers we've seen coming through? Because at the moment we've got some fantastic wrestlers. I mean, the ones at the forefront of my mind would be obviously Zack Sabre Jr., Marty Scurll, Will Ospreay, and Jimmy Havoc. They seem to be the real pioneers of British wrestling at the moment, and they're taking it through this boom period. Yeah. And of course, they're getting global attention by winning the Battle of Los Angeles, the 16 Carat by WXW. So what's been your perception of British wrestling at the moment?
It's like going back to what's going on in Quebec and Canada, is there's a lot of great guys that are good and have been good for a long time, but they really haven't gotten the chance to expand. And that's probably what I think happened with those guys. Well, Zack Sabre had been out in Japan and they'd been out a bit, but really, like these are guys that have been good for a long time and have been wrestling for a long time, and that the world just didn't get to see. And once they finally got to see them, they were like, wow, okay, we've never seen those guys, but they're already awesome. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it's like that for a lot of places in the world that just haven't seen the same boom the UK has. You know what I mean? Like, I know France is kind of like in the early stages of that, where they're starting to expand and bring American indie wrestlers to give out seminars. And I'm sure there's a bunch of great guys over there the world has never seen.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's untapped resources, isn't it?
Exactly. Like, all over the world, I'm sure there's so much great talent that just doesn't get the chance to.
So I've got to thank you again, because you're doing this interview for us for RBR 24, which right now is going to be in a couple of weeks. And the idea is that we can raise some good money for the Cavendish Cancer Care.
Yes.
In memory of Chris Travis. So thank you very much again for doing that. But there's another charity that's close to your heart at the moment that we were talking about earlier with C4.
Yes. So Frank, or as he was known, Stinky the homeless guy. Yeah.
That is the best name ever.
He wrestled for C4 Wrestling for a long time, and then he lost his battle to cancer. And in his memory, in the summer, C4 runs their yearly show where all the money is given to the Canadian Cancer Research Society. I want to say, I wish if I had my phone, could look it up, I could tell you the actual name, but I'm not sure that's the actual name of the charity. But regardless, over the past 6, I think, years, we've raised, I wish I had the exact number, but somewhere around the $115,000.
Wow.
Which is massive.
So
and
you're
impressive.
making, that changes lives. That does a lot.
Yes.
You know, we done a thing back in January for Connor's Cure, and we were able to raise $1,400 thanks to the Rock Bottom Radio fans. Without them, we couldn't have done it. But yeah, so and we got feedback from the Hospital of Pittsburgh, the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, and they broke it down and showed us how that money actually can help people and how it's actually helping the children.
That's amazing.
And it was just sensational, just knowing that. I think they said it was $50 pays for a round of blood work for the children. And knowing that we could do something to help and that wrestling fans can unite for one great cause is pretty special.
Yeah.
So when's the next C4 show then? When would that be for the charity? And
they do it in the summer, usually August. The last one I wrestled Chavo Guerrero, and the main event was Player Uno, one half of the Super Smash Brothers, and Mathieu Saint-Jacques, one half of TDT, Tabarnak the Team, against the other half of the Super Smash Brothers Player Dos and the other half of Tabarnak the Team, TDT. And that is just a ridiculous, crazy, over-the-top match that everyone should see. So if you like, the DVD's out there, I think, for sale, available to get. So, and their Twitter's not hard to find.
We're at WXW right now. You're right around the title picture here. What's next for Speedball Mike Bailey? When are we going to see you next?
Next week I'm heading back to Japan to DDT to participate in the DNA Grand Prix. And I'm hoping to win that. And then I don't know. I don't know where I will be. I plan to just travel the world, and I'll be spending a lot of time over in Japan. I spoke to Rev Pro, and I'll probably be back in the UK in the beginning of next year. I worked for Preston City Wrestling. I'm hoping to get more work for them because they were awesome. And there's just so many places in the UK right now that I would love to work for.
Okay, and last thing, where can we find you? I know you're on Twitter.
Yes, Twitter and Instagram at Speedball Bailey. Feel free to tweet anything at me.
Recipe ideas.
Yes, anything, questions, I'll reply. I like people talking to me on Twitter.
It's awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Best of luck with everything in the future, and we'll catch you down the road.
Thank you, guys. Whoever's listening to this and donating, I guess that's how that works. Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So keep up with that, and again, this is a great cause. that I think affects pretty much everyone on some level. Keep at it, and thank everyone who
Well, you
has
heard the
given some
man.
support.
Guys, keep donating. Without you, this doesn't happen. So thank you so much for donating already. And if you don't donate, we're going to get Speedball Mike Bailey to kick you in the chest.
That works. Sounds like a deal. Sweet.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is Speedball Mike Bailey. You are listening to a hashtag 5-star podcast, Rock Bottom Radio.
Brass monkey, that funky monkey.